If you spend time on social media these days, it's easy to assume that almost everyone is a digital nomad. However, there are real risks when you choose to live this lifestyle. And we're going to share with you guys the risks that we have taken to continue to live the digital nomad lifestyle.
And it's true, we have given up quite a lot to be able to travel around like this. It has not been always easy, even though we post a lot of our very joyful moments online. We're going to share some of the things that aren't completely joyful.
But before we get into all of the things that may not be so pretty about the digital nomad lifestyle, let's do a recap of 2024.
How many countries did we go to?
We went to 8 different countries.
Yes, and we spent like a month and a half in each one to really get a real feel of what those countries were like. We started out in Bogota at the beginning of the year because it was just right after the holidays, right? And then by February, we were in Chile. And then we went to Buenos Aires, Montevideo.
Argentina, Uruguay.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying the cities now. I mix up the cities I do that all the time. Argentina, and then Uruguay, and then Peru. And then we went back to Colombia for a minute, and then we went to the United States, then we went down to Mexico, and then we went to Guatemala. We had not posted anything about Guatemala just yet. But we are now back where?
In Colombia.
In Bogota, Colombia.
Of course, this is the best place to spend the holidays.
Starting with the first country that we went to, Chile and Santiago. What was your highlight about Santiago?
My highlight about Santiago, I just had no expectations of Santiago. I honestly didn't look at many pictures of Santiago. So I knew we were just going there to get closer to Patagonia. So for me, it was just like a stop.
Right.
To get to the place that I really wanted to go, which it was Patagonia. That was my heart's desire. But getting to Santiago, because I didn't have many expectations, I really loved it because it's very organized. You see these epic mountains all around the city, and to me, that is the most joyful thing, seeing mountains.
My highlight was about Santiago specifically was that the hiking culture is pretty big there, and it was easy to find. You get on a really nice, pretty epic, challenging hike within about 15 or 30 minutes. And that is something that I always look for in cities. And Santiago had that, and so I was like pleasantly surprised by Santiago.
However, it was dangerous because the hiking culture is so big. There were so many hiking stores that we had to contain ourselves with the shopping because, I mean, in Dallas, there's only one that we like, REI. In Colombia, there's not that many. Like, hiking culture is not as big. Now it's starting to become like a thing.
It's picking up a little bit.
Yes, but going to Santiago, it was like paradise.
Yeah, that it was pleasantly surprising. Moving on from Santiago, what was the highlight of Patagonia?
I really wanted to see the whales in the Magallanes Strait, so seeing the whales was my highlight. It was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I love mountains so much that when we did go see the whales in the Magallanes Strait, just the boat ride and seeing the mountains and the landscape was incredibly epic. It was so cold and windy outside, but I was still like, I want to stay out here and just keep staring at the mountains and watching how the sun changes the view and I loved
because we rode at sunrise.
Yeah.
So it was whoa.
Okay, Buenos Aires.
What was
That's
my
the place
highlight?
we went in Argentina was Buenos Aires. So
Yeah.
what was your highlight?
My highlight of Buenos Aires. I knew what Buenos Aires was going to look like. Was going to feel like my father had been to Buenos Aires and quite a few friends, so that was not a surprise. However, a lot of people talk about Argentinians being very kind of rude and mean to you. However, that was not our experience when we went there. We were treated very nicely.
People were very polite, nice. I thought it was fine.
So our interactions with people, I would say.
Yeah.
Especially, like, there was one specifically Uber driver that I took to go get my haircut, and he was the sweetest person I have ever met. So he was the highlight. You were not with me.
That's right. You had to do that that trip on by yourself. My highlight of Buenos Aires was the chocolate covered alfajor, and we ate way too
Oh,
many of those that I ended up getting a cavity later in the year.
you did get a
I haven't
cavity.
had a cavity for years. I mean, years and years. I was like,
I've
oh my
had
god.
alfajores, so I knew what I was
Oh my
going for.
gosh, they were
You've
so
never had
damn
an
good.
alfajor before, right?
Not a chocolate covered one. I don't like if it does if it's not covered with chocolate. I don't like the plain alfajors with. It's got to have the chocolate covered. And if the cookie is made of chocolate too, which a lot of them were, oh, it's even better. Yeah, that was my highlight of Buenos Aires. Okay, Uruguay. We went to Montevideo. That's the only place we went in Uruguay. So, what was your highlight about Montevideo?
My highlight, the Rambla. Just walking along the ocean, being so peaceful, the sunsets. How calm Uruguay is. Like, I felt at ease. I felt like I could live 100 years there and make sense why people, the
Yeah,
population is older.
I think we got a bad rap in the video we made about Montevideo. Like we did find it more expensive but more peaceful. And I'm like, I was asking the question, where would you rather live, Dallas, Texas, or Montevideo? And I'm like, well,
Montevideo.
Montevideo. It's got walkability. It's got a really nice connection to nature because you're right by the ocean with this beautiful walkway. So that was a huge highlight, and it was just very peaceful. So I could see why Uruguay is such a huge. Like I keep seeing more and more headlines about how this is such a attractive place for expats, and it seems to be well organized, well kept, versus other Latin American countries. And we've been bouncing around different Latin American countries to see what they're like, to get a legitimate real feel. So yeah, Montevideo was organized. It was nice. Okay, moving on to Peru. We went to two places in Peru,
Yes.
Lima and Cusco.
You go first now.
Okay.
What was your highlight of
The,
Lima?
the highlight of Lima was doing surfing for the first time and doing a cooking class. So I have more than one highlight. I really liked Lima a lot, as a city. And the food was good everywhere we went. Even the cheaper meals where you go get like the menu de dia that they have was so tasteful. It was pleasantly surprising. But specifically surfing, I've never surfed in my life. It's the one and only time I've done it, and I was able to actually get on the board and go a couple times. But I guess that's because I have a decent sense of balance, and I've done some skateboarding and longboarding. And then Cusco was just
Wait, me first,
what?
Lima?
Oh, Lima. Okay,
Lima.
we'll move on to the next city after Lima.
We go in order. So, for me, Lima, obviously, surfing. That was so exhilarating. I regret leaving it to the last day because we didn't have a choice to do it more. But that was very exhilarating. I would definitely will go back and do it again. Now, you can go with Cusco.
Cusco. Ooh, where do I even start? Cusco was just so different. It was like magical in a way. But I mean, I think just the alpacas, right? Going to the alpaca farm was so awesome. And Asangate Mountain, that hike to the Asangate Mountain, and just seeing like being at such high elevation and walking that and doing the horse ride, that particular experience and tour that we did was just completely incredible. And seeing all the ancient ruins, I mean, there's more than one highlight. Like Peru is a place that I can totally see us going again,
And
specifically
again,
to
and again.
vacation, to have those experiences. And I see why the tourist industry is
It's
so big
very
there.
organized.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very. They have it down.
yeah, you can just show up and book tours last minute. Besides the very famous things like Machu Picchu and the Rainbow Mountain, but there are many other things that you could just kind of do last minute. And since we are bouncing around constantly, we don't always have everything detailed planned out 100% of the time. And that's kind of how that particular trip felt. It was like we just showed up, walked into a tourist agency, and said, "I want to do this and this and this," and they're like, "Yeah," and we put it on the calendar and we went, did it, and it was amazing,
Yes.
amazing.
The highlight of Cusco for me is definitely the alpacas.
And the
I've seen
burger.
in the burger, obviously, but not the alpacas alive alpacas. I've seen llamas here, but I've never seen an alpaca, and they're so cute and soft, and the clothing they provide, it's so good for you. It's not. doesn't have any plastics. It lets you breathe. You don't stink. It regulates temperature. So I'm obsessed with alpacas. I'm obsessed with alpacas.
And then after that, where did we go?
We went to Colombia.
Yeah, we went back to Bogota for about a month.
Yeah, I guess the highlight for me was I got the surgery on my eye.
Yes, we need to get that out of the way. I keep forgetting that we did that. And
Yeah,
that was one of the reasons why we came back is because Whitney needed to do a surgery.
it was I got it done for less than $800 without insurance, with a really good doctor, a really nice clinic where they took amazing care of me, and I had a great recovery.
Yeah, I'm surprised that like medical tourism isn't even more well known or bigger. I mean, I know it's big, but maybe I just don't have an awareness of how big it is.
Yeah, I that's what I think.
But but that's what we did in the month of like June. It was like just sitting around making sure that the eye was healed.
Yeah, I
and
couldn't do anything.
yeah, it was like nothing really interesting. And then after that, like my Colombian visa expired in July, so we decided we needed to go back to the US since we have not been back to the US for like almost over 2 years
Over 2 years.
and spent some significant time. We decided to spend 3 months in the United States, saw friends, saw family. The highlight there was just having time to reflect on like our overall experience of living outside of the US because we were very well established, right? 6 years of our marriage was in the US, like before we decided to start doing this whole thing. And so it really gave us the correct and ample amount of time to decide and make critical decisions in those 3 months what to do next, which we're about to reveal here in a little bit.
Are we going to continue talking about the highlights? So
Yeah,
then
what
Mexico.
highlight? What other highlight did you have about?
Highlight for Dallas. I mean,
See that face she gave? We're literally making this raw and real. Like, why'd you give that face?
okay. The highlight.
Continue that. See it.
I definitely seen how your dad missed us.
Yeah.
Because he's not very good at telling you or telling us, but seeing him and
Yeah.
his reactions of how proud he is,
Yes.
yet how much he misses us was that was the highlight.
I think moving forward, we're gonna have to make an effort to go back to the U.S. for a month or two every single year.
to spend just to see your dad a lot
Yeah.
more often. Yes.
I think that's gonna have to happen. After that, we decided to go to Mexico, which you've obviously already known because we've been posting stuff about Mexico recently. Went to Puerto Vallarta. So what was your highlight about Puerto Vallarta?
Oof, abulon. The restaurant abulon.
Their
The
five
food
times.
was so good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That was awesome. It was a good break, especially after some other critical decisions that we made in those 3 months in the United States. It was good to be at the beach and just, we saw an alligator, a crocodile. I was excited about that when he was terrified. I was like, oh, sweet, an alligator. I mean, a crocodile.
Jesus.
Yeah, alligator, crocodile. What's the difference? Comment below if you know what the difference is. I know what the difference is. I just mix them up in my head. Okay, Mexico City. I have always been like, oh, Mexico City's too big, right? Mm-hmm. And after being there, I'm like, this city's amazing. This is why 20 million people live here. The weather is perfect. The food's amazing. They've actually, I'd say like half the city has actually been made well for people to walk around very easily. And I mean, we walked a lot. Like, we would go walk 2 miles easily.
Yeah, we walked a lot.
Yeah.
There were plenty of days where we hit over 20,000 steps.
Yes.
The highlight for me was seeing Elsa y el Mar, the Colombian artist, in Mexico City, because that's where she lives. And
I was there and I was like, I don't know what's happening. I sat down the entire
she
time.
sings in Spanish. And she sings very sad songs. I'm in a very happy relationship, however. I like sad songs. I don't know.
And then we have not posted anything about this country, but we went to Guatemala for 2 weeks and we saw Fuego,
The volcano.
the volcano. And I'd have to say that was the highlight. I also enjoyed the little colonial town of Antigua and
City.
It mesmerized me by how many churches they had in that one little town city. That's like a town. It's a pueblo.
It's a city.
And then we went to
Atitlan.
Lago Atitlan, and we spent a few days there, and we did some paddle boarding, and it was so epic and peaceful. We did zero work. We just
But the internet was horrible
and the
too.
internet
So
sucked. So,
we had no choice but to relax.
yeah.
The highlight for me in Antigua was definitely going to see Fuego with my brother and his girlfriend and some friends. It was kind of epic because that night it rained. It was cold. We couldn't see anything. We could see Fuego, but we couldn't see anything that was in front of us. So that was pretty epic. And the highlight in Lake Atitlan, just how peaceful it was.
Yeah. All the different little towns, they were all a different vibe. Still Guatemala, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I'd go back to that place for sure.
for sure.
And then the highlights, now that we're back in Bogota, Colombia for the holidays, we decided to really jump on reapplying for my visa. And to our surprise, this is still
about
fresh.
that.
This is still fresh at this moment in time, but literally, no joke. On Wednesday, we applied.
It's Saturday. We're recording this
Yeah.
on a Saturday. So
Whatever.
on Wednesday
The
at
day we applied.
9:52 a.m. we submitted the visa application.
Yes. And about 11:36 a.m., I got approved. Within less than 2 hours, I was approved for my visa.
I was so worried because we didn't submit all the papers that we submitted the ones that they required. We didn't submit any
All this
additional
additional stuff,
papers,
yeah.
which is what lawyers recommend and what other people recommend.
So
However, you were approved.
I was approved in less than 2 hours, which I think is like unheard of. I've never heard of anybody getting approved this fast. So I don't know if they were
We
trying to
thought it
get
was a
quota.
scam.
Yeah,
But no, it was real.
I read it a couple times. I'm like, oh, aprobada. I'm like, I know these words. I know it says that I'm approved for the visa. And I was like, when you come look, I'm approved for the visa.
And I was like, what? I was like, no, you're approved for the case to be studied.
No, mira, it's
And-
and then it had the attachment of the electronic visa, and I was like, oh, like, hey, we got it, sweet, awesome.
I had forgotten about that.
It's still fresh. We're recording this at this moment in time, about 3 days after that occurring. So it's still like, whoa, like this happened so quick. All right, let's
Okay.
get to the real sacrifices.
This is a really long clip. Go stop it.
Okay, we had an epic year, as you can see. And if you are considering being a digital nomad yourself, or are one, right? You know there are things in the background that had to be sacrificed to have these epic adventures. And let's get into it. One of the things that has driven me crazy is not having my own bed, a comfortable bed. We had such a comfy bed in the United States.
Our bed was pretty spectacular.
Yes.
We spent a lot of money, not just in the bed, but in the bedding, the sheets, the comforter.
bed
That's what
frame.
it's called. The duvet, the duvet cover, the frame. We spent time, money,
Energy.
energy putting together that bed, and not having it has been difficult.
And it's been like that for 3 years now. And no, there's been some places that we've gone to that the bed has been very comfortable. And like, oh, I feel like I'm back.
But that's like rare.
Yes.
It's more
very
often than not that the bed is
We're
uncomfortable.
back in an apartment that we rented for about 8 months right now. We rented it for a long time, and the bed is not that comfortable. It could be softer, but I love this apartment. But the bed could be better. Sacrificing the bed is hard. I think that's just been one of the hardest things for me to experience. Plus, like kitchen stuff, right? Like you get to an Airbnb, and I complain about it every single time I show up. I'm like, hey, look, one kitchen towel, one little microfiber towel, and you're staying here for an entire month, and that's all they give you is one kitchen towel. So we started traveling with kitchen towels. We started traveling with our own
Salad
knives.
spinner, knives.
Yes, I've almost
or
considered a
cutting
pan.
board.
We started traveling with a cutting board because sometimes they just have a plastic cutting board, and I don't like the plastic because I don't like eating plastic. I don't know if you like eating plastic.
No, but those are just small things.
But they add up over time, and it's like a wear and a tear, and it's like
Let's
I don't
talk
have.
about the big things.
Okay. I think those things are big. because they add up. It's like little small little increments, and you're just like,
They're
oh,
not big for me. They've been big for you.
yes, they've been very big.
One of the main reasons why we've been able to live this lifestyle for the past 3 years is because we have remote jobs from the United States.
Yes.
Your boss allowed you to work from wherever you wanted. My boss allowed me to work from wherever I wanted. However, it's not something that is company wide. Not everyone in the company was allowed to do it. We were just badass people that
We
really, for real, that
we pushed for it. We
gained that
pushed hard.
privilege. Yeah, we ask. If you ask, you get more. The more you ask, the more you get.
Yeah, that's true. I totally believe that.
Yeah, and I kill I worked really hard to get to that position. You did too,
Yeah.
and we're very proud of that. So, however,
However, we were working for the same company, and that company changed their VPN, which shared your geographic location.
in February
In
of
February, right when we were in
2024,
Santiago.
they changed the VPN. And before that, they didn't know where we were. So the only people that knew that we were outside the country were our direct buses and the upper ups, like the bus of our buses.
Right.
So the only people that needed to know, not everyone in the company knew. However, when they changed the VPN in February 2024, we were 1 week
We were exposed.
in Chile. Well, this new VPN revealed our exact geographic location. So people from IT started to reach out, hey, are you in Chile? Or, or did someone hack you? No, we're in Chile.
And we were like, yeah, we're just here for a month, and then we're going to go take some vacation time, which we actually had scheduled to go to Patagonia because it was just impossible to work in Patagonia because of like no internet and we're doing hikes and stuff, right? And so it was just like an awkward conversation. And
It was an awkward conversation because it was with IT and then with the security, what was this
risk
name?
team, whatever.
Yeah.
Risk team. The
And
risk
then they
IT.
obviously complained to our bosses and then
And
our
HR.
bosses and HR. And so then our bosses had to reach out to us and be like, hey, so we're having these conversations with HR where it's not prohibited for you to do what you're doing. And I know that you've been doing it for the past 2 years, yet you're not allowed to. So they were starting to ask questions. When are you coming back to the US?
But they were leaving it on us. They were like, so when are you going to come back? When are you going to come back? And we already knew.
No,
Like,
but my boss did tell me, you need to give me a date so I can give HR a date so they can leave me alone and they can leave you alone. And so we were like, let's just say July.
yeah, and July was good because I was like, well, my visa expires. I should probably go back to the States. Like a lot of things lined up. I needed let's go back to the US, spend time with my family and see some of our friends. Let's go because my visa is expiring. Also, my passport, I could just renew it early.
You needed to renew
Yeah,
it.
because we plan on being out anyways. We needed to renew the passport. So there were a bunch of little practical things that needed to happen as well. So we were like, let's just say let's be back in July. That's fine. But after that conversation and the following month or two, we started having deeper conversations about, well, what's the next move for us? If we know like the company doesn't really want to support us being abroad and we want to be abroad, then that question's like, should we continue working for this company? And that was a hard conversation.
We had plenty of those conversations
Yes.
where we review all of our scenarios.
Yes. Lots of scenarios. So we started dreaming more and scenario building and trying to think, well, what would it be like this? Like, what if we just literally stopped working full-time jobs for a while? What would we do? And eventually, that's what we concluded. We were like, we have to make the decision to walk away from our full-time jobs because in reality, with what we want, which is being able to travel more, spend a significant time in Bogota every single year, and then see other parts of the world, truthfully, like if the company we're working for doesn't support that, then we can't be with that company anymore, and we
Yeah.
need to figure something else out. And so we decided, we put a date in our minds, didn't tell our bosses or anything, but we are like, we're going to be out, we're going to bounce by October, we're going to be gone. And so we just kept focused on doing our job and keeping things maintained and as organized, so that when we pass it on to, the other employees or whatnot, that it wasn't too much of a burden, because I think that's the right way to exit. And that was a tough decision, but it's also because what we want is greater than what that job was constraining us to live, right? Forcing us back to the United States. And after being back in the US, we were like, I don't think we really want to be here, especially
Yeah.
Dallas.
Especially, yeah, spending those 3 months in Dallas, trying to live like the normal life, right?
Yeah.
Of working from home, living in Dallas, doing groceries in Dallas,
Yeah.
just doing the normal routine things that you need to do in life. We were pretty sure that it was not what we want.
Yeah. So we also got hungry for, well, what thing are we going to do? Because we do eventually need to get back to a point where we're making income again, because we don't have millions of dollars, right? Although that is an aspiration. um, it's like, well, we're going to have to get back to a point of making income again. So what are we going to do? So we started looking at, obviously we have YouTube, right? But we're not really making anything from YouTube at this point in time.
No,
Which is,
because we haven't started that at all.
yeah, we feel like it's just been kind of like a little like fun experiment for a while, but we've started getting more consistent, as you probably have noticed, because we now have the time, because we don't have these full-time jobs, we don't have this distraction. So we also signed up for learning how to do this other business that's unrelated to YouTube, that we have been very hyper focused on for like the past basically 2 or 3
Two,
months.
3 months.
Yeah.
We've been learning a lot. We've
Yes.
been really pushing ourselves to get this thing going, and it's been challenging to get into a new routine of not having jobs and
Yeah.
create content and learn about this business. So it's been a complete 180 change.
Yes. But I will say, oddly enough, even though it's like it brings on this different stress of like, well, I don't really have a lot of money coming in like we did before, like a significant amount of money that was a bit more than what we needed. It's like now we're like kind of tight with what we're working with. I'm still like sleeping really good because it's like it feels more right. Like I'm glad we're in a position that we can take these risks and say that this is what feels right. So for perceivably for the next 2 years, it's going to feel like this probably, where we're having these days where like we're basically becoming full-time entrepreneurs.
We are.
And I read things online as like, hey, like I feel like I'm not doing enough stuff. I feel like I'm behind. I feel like
Yeah, there's days that I feels like we move forward so good. Like we're taking steps. We are finding our way. And there's days where you feel like, what the fuck did I do? There's like,
but we're
this
adults.
is a mistake.
We're adults and we're going to deal with the consequences and the punches. The worst case scenario though, like here's the worst case scenario. Oh, we completely fail and have to go back to work.
Yeah, and we'll go back to different states. Washington,
Yeah.
Oregon, California.
Like to Boston, I don't know.
What? What did you say?
Boston or go to New York City.
No, I don't know about New York.
Hawaii.
I want to.
Hawaii.
No,
Alaska.
living is too expensive. If we wanna, my,
I'm going to go
I
work
to
on an
like-
oil rig in
No, I go to Utah. I go to Vegas.
Vegas. Yes, I would.
Yeah, Nevada.
For the mountains, not
For
necessarily
the
the
no, not for the
party or
gambling,
gambling,
but
yeah.
for the mountains.
Go hang out with Alex Honnold.
However, anyways, the worst part is that if we fail, we just go back and get jobs, which I know we will find jobs because we're badass people.
I feel like I'm a very employable person, and I've always done more than one job
Yeah,
because I still have a part-time job that I still can do online,
yeah,
but it's like a fraction of what
yeah.
I
It's
make.
like
It's like it's livable, but we would like more.
yeah,
On top of all these things we're sharing, and we're being very honest about like what 2024 has been like, it was also a roller coaster year emotionally, because in Dallas there was a job that I had been seeking for a long time. I really wanted this job. If I had gotten this job before we started this whole adventure 3 years ago, I don't think we'd be doing this adventure.
No, not at all.
But it got offered to me earlier this year more than once. It got offered to me in March. I was actually being probed. They were like, "Hey, we want you to apply. We want you to do this." But it took away my application. They're like, "Why'd you stop?" So there's been this growing demand for that job, and it would have paid very well, 6 figures, but it would have required me to be in Dallas. And after being in Dallas, and we were back in Dallas in the thick of it, and they were like trying to get me on, and I was like, "Hey, look, if I was being very picky about salary, and I'm like, if the salary is not this, then I'm going to say no." And it didn't even get close to that number, so I was like, no. And so I gave up.
But what's that job? What's the job that you've been dreaming of for a long time?
It was a teaching job at a community college, and so like I
'Cause
would
you
have been
do
teaching
love
economics.
teaching. I don't know if most people know, but you were a high school teacher for 5 years.
Yes,
And you do love teaching.
yes. And then went into corporate environment and the tech world, and
But the only reason why you went, or like the main reason why you went to corporate, was to get experience, to get that community college job.
Yes.
Because most community college required, what's that called?
they wanted industry experience
Indeed.
where they were like they want people who are in the industry and actually performing and rising the ranks, or we're doing something in industry, whatever that means. It's very vague. So like a lot of people who are not trained teachers, oddly enough, want these people with industry experience to come in, and I'm like, well, you want trained teachers because trained teachers are going to know how to actually conduct a
They know the
classroom and lessons.
pedagogy of it.
Yeah, pedagogy.
Pedagogy.
And there's a lot of little things that like being a trained teacher I think is actually more valuable than an industry experience.
Yeah.
But that's not the view that they had in college. So I was like, well, I'm gonna specifically go work in a job I think I would like. Which there were parts of it I liked. I liked the technical stuff. I got better at my technical skills. It was awesome. SQL and Excel and doing random projects and the tech space was really fun. I enjoyed those things. But every place has its politics. But the reality of like being like, I have to be back in Dallas. I have to own a car. I have to drive to the grocery store. I have to, I would have really enjoyed the job, but it would have forced me back into the things that I actually really dislike about being specifically in Dallas and a lot of American cities, which is the driving culture. And I'm like, all these other cities that we've been to, I don't need to own a car whatsoever. Not Santiago, not Buenos Aires, not Montevideo, not Lima, not Cusco, not Bogota, not Mexico City, not even Puerto Vallarta. I'm like, every place we went to, you don't need a car. And I'm like, that fundamentally has changed the way I want to live my life. And so I said no to this. I was like, it just isn't worth that extra thing that annoys me every day. Like I actually prefer being in the city now. That's kind of gets loud and crazy sometimes with the traffic, but I can go walk like where we are right now. I can walk to 13 different grocery stores within about 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy
Yeah.
with all the grocery stores we have.
And that to me is amazing, and we do online stuff. So it's like not owning a car, I know, is such a big privilege. Not having to commute anywhere, because I know a lot of people in the city do commute here in Bogota. But I mean, I'm being very authentic here on YouTube, sharing all these details. But it was a roller coaster year because I was like, not only that did we make this decision to quit, it was like, oh, now I have this opportunity. Do I give it up or not? Like, what do we really want? And the reality was, I was like, even if I do this job, I do it for a year or two, and I would be back in the same position that I am today, wanting exactly what I want, which is to travel the world, be in Bogota. So
And
I was
more
like,
than that, like for years we have been talking about doing our own stuff,
yes,
creating our own thing. And one of those outlets was starting this YouTube channel in 2020.
Yeah.
Which it was one of the things that we were creating that was our own, that was fully our own.
Yes.
Where we had, what is it? We had ownership of all the pieces
yes.
of a project. So
And so I was like, well, I'm gonna end up back in the same position in the future I can already predict that. So why distract myself with this opportunity that now it doesn't feel like that great of opportunity anymore? And so that
Also, the
that's
pay was disappointing.
yeah, the pay was disappointing. But I sort of expected that. I was like, I'm just gonna ask for what I
I
want,
did
and if
not.
I
I
don't get
did
it,
not. I cannot believe they paid community college professors that
I
little.
wasn't shocked. And I was like, well, that's the no. And that was like, I just needed them to say that number. That was really disappointing. Have that disappointing moment, and be like, all right, cool. I'm totally not taking this position. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna become entrepreneurs, and we're gonna really try to figure this out. We are going to figure this out, and we've already started figuring things out. So yeah, we feel anxious at times, but we also feel at peace about it. And you know, I know this video is probably dang long, but like these are the real sacrifices for wanting to be a digital nomad. Like, what do you do? What do you figure out? And I think that's a bigger message here. Like, whatever life you want, it doesn't matter. It's the concept of opportunity cost, right? That you're going to have to give up something. You're going to have to sacrifice something for the life that you want. And one of the things we realized we didn't really want was this idea of the American dream, a nice big house with a big yard in a suburban neighborhood, which is like very
And
iconic in the U.S.
it also goes the opposite way. We have friends that say, "Hey, I'm really envious of what you do. I really would like to travel the world the way you guys are doing it." However, they value their homes and they value their material positions, being in one place, their bed, a lot more
Yeah,
than they value traveling
yeah,
and having all these other experiences. And for us, continue being in this adventure is way higher than owning a home.
yes. Like our value, like so, it's an exercise of looking at your values. What do you value, and really stacking them against each other, and deciding I actually value this more. I'm gonna do what it takes to have that experience in my life. And I think when people fail to really experience their life that way is when they start to feel a little sad about their life, start to feel that regret, right? Because they're not making the critical sacrifices that would give you that opportunity to experience that life, right? And so other people look at our lifestyle and they're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't travel around like crazy like that. I love my house too much, right? Um, and, and I mean, it comes down to like little silly things, but like I literally own two joggers, two pairs of jeans, and two slacks that I just keep in
I
Bogota,
want one pair of
and
jeans.
a couple shorts. Like, and I own like 10 t-shirts. Like my wardrobe is so little than what it was when I was working at a corporate job going into the office.
Of course.
And so, but I'm like, if I had taken that job teaching, I would have had to build up my wardrobe again because I'd be going in the office, or into the school at least 4 times a week. And so those little things really just kind of like built up in my mind of like, I don't want that. I really just don't.
So all of this to say,
It's been a very emotional year.
where you didn't catch it, it's a Taylor Swift song. I tricked you. Johnny doesn't like Taylor Swift. Okay, you can go on with your message. Respeta.
I admire her as a person and what she has done in becoming a billionaire. I think it's amazing. I just don't like her music that much. Sorry.
That's fun.
I'm actually not sorry. But this year, this year, my voice cracked. This year, 2024 has been incredibly epic. We've loved it. It's been awesome. And then it has been very emotional because we decided we're going to quit our jobs. I can't believe I'm actually going to do this. Like I'm gonna actually quit. I felt like I had an out of body experience when I was quitting my my job.
Yeah, especially the jobs we had. Like I felt like
They're comfortable.
we were very lucky. We were in a very comfortable position,
Yes.
not just with salary, but all of the other benefits
Yeah.
that we had with the company and with the teams that we were working with.
And we were good at our jobs.
We were really good, but it was the time to take a really big step and go for something that we really really want and for something that we have talked about for years, which is doing our own thing and
Yeah.
creating our own thing.
And I don't know if it's the universe or God or whatever, but like the temptation of the other job coming in and tempting me twice to take it was just like even more emotionally havocing on me, because I was just like, I know I would enjoy that job so much, but at the same time, it imply all these other things. So yeah, very emotional year. So I'm hoping to anyone who's watching this, if you're considering being a digital nomad yourself, or if you are one, right? Like, these are the real sacrifices. These are the real risk of saying, I want this more adventurous life outside of my
And and
home country.
I think it shouldn't just be applied to being a digital nomad. It
Mm-hmm.
can be applied to any decision you're trying to make in life. Think about what you value and honor your values,
Yeah.
I would say. Even if you have to give up something, what you will get will probably be greater because you are honoring what you love and what you value in
Yes.
your life.
Yeah, I think a lot of society teaches you to value certain things, but over time you have to realize, what do I actually value? Do I value the big suburban house in a suburban neighborhood and having to drive everywhere I go because I love my big suburban house in a suburban neighborhood? Like, I actually don't. It annoys me. I prefer being in an apartment and not having to deal with all the additional maintenance and ownership aspects that the U.S. forces you into, right? And that type of economy forces you into. The game you have to play there is just so different when you go to other places. So that's our big message, is like, what are you going to sacrifice for the life you want? We are the life theory couple, as we call ourselves. So it's like, nothing's absolute in life. So it's all a theory. What resonates with you the most, and are you going to go after that or not? For us, we have,
Or what tiny steps you need
yeah,
to take to go after it because it wasn't just like I want this, I'm gonna go do it right
yeah,
away.
no,
It's been a process.
of years and years, and
And
every single small little thing, and it just built up, and now we're at this point with our YouTube channel. We're at this point with this other business that we're just not disclosing intentionally, and like, it takes sacrifice, it takes effort, it takes time, it takes
it
energy.
takes conversations with yourself if you have a partner, with your partner. It takes looking at the hard things and choosing your heart, as they say.
Yeah,
Because it's always, no matter which way you go, there's going to be hard. So choosing your heart.
yeah. With all that said, thank you for watching. If you got this far, peace and love. If you're new, subscribe, like, all that, and share it with a friend or something. But let us know in the comments below what you think.
Or what you want in life. What is it that you
Yeah, what do you
want?
want? What do you want?
Just manifest it into the YouTube community.
There you go.
Sometimes it helps to write it down.
Yes, I journal.
So if you're not into journaling, maybe writing it down in a comment, and then it makes you think harder about it. And it makes you think about the steps you need to take. Or it makes you want to go journal it.
Yeah. That's a
No.
good place to start, actually. If you want to do something radical like this, hey, take 6 months or a year thinking about it, planning about it, and then you start to build up. This is how I can actually accomplish this thing that I want in my life. All right. Peace out. Besito.